Hey guys, it's Charene Herrera for County 10. I'm at Wind River Internet with Patrick, and we're going to talk about cryptocurrency for this episode in Tech Tips. If you're a cryptocurrency newbie like myself, you're going to find out exactly what is cryptocurrency and why are people using cryptocurrency. If you already know about cryptocurrency, well, Patrick is going to, give you a little bit more intel into cryptocurrency. So first off, Patrick, I know not much except what you've already taught me about cryptocurrency. So for the folks out there that are cryptocurrency newbies, what is cryptocurrency?
There's not a simple answer. But the way I like to describe it is it's basically just like regular money. It doesn't really exist. No.
Fake monopoly money, but it's not actually monopoly money. But when you talk about it kind of being made out of thin air, it's not a lie at all.
Yeah, so it's a digital ledger that's distributed over the internet in an open source manner, so that basically everybody's just kind of keeping track of all the transactions that happen, and they're represented in a blockchain, which becomes a coin. And it's very interesting because the value of the coin is only whatever people are willing to pay, and you can buy and sell them, and then you can also mine them, and mining them is how you how those transactions are verified, and so that nobody's cheating the system. They're all encrypted, and the miners decode them and process them and put them into the blockchain. And it's
you don't actually get a gold coin though, right?
No,
it's a digital coin.
Yeah,
it's not like Mario where we're getting gold coins.
Yeah. There's no actual physical coin. It's basically the same thing as like when you're using your Visa card or whatever, your debit card at Walmart, and you're not physically giving them any money. You're swiping a card, and it's being processed through the Visa network. And this is, instead of using big banking institutions to do all of this, it's all open sourced, which means it's just
person to person.
Yeah, the ledger is open sourced, I guess, so everybody can kind of verify the transactions. You can see what everybody's doing with their wallet. So you give out an address, and that's your wallet, and that's how you send money between people. And then there's a small fee when you do a transaction, and that goes to the miners, and that's how they get paid.
It sounds a lot like a cash sharing app. Really, super simple, just a couple.
It's exactly like that, like the Cash app. I know a lot of people around here use that. In fact, you can actually do cryptocurrency with it. That's another way you can get cryptocurrency. So you can either mine cryptocurrency with these noisy little boxes that
have little people in them.
have little people in them mining. No, but they really do. They're ASICs miners, and they're application-specific computers. So you can run a program on your computer, and that's how the mining used to work. Is you'd start an app on your computer, and it would hum away, and the fans would spin up and get really hot and use a lot of power. But they found out they could design custom chips that are made just for particular algorithms. One for Bitcoin, one for just Ethereum, and they just blow away the computers. They have the equivalent of like 1,000 computers in just one little box. So basically, you can't really mine crypto anymore with a computer. You can do it with graphics cards, and that's why there's been I think we talked about this before. There's a graphic card shortage. That's why you can't buy a PS5.
We did that last time on streaming services when we talked about that. Yeah, that's right.
It's because all of the GPUs, the graphics processing units, have been bought up to use for mining cryptocurrencies. And these ASICs miners are even kind of like the next level up from that. So. And
you mentioned terms like Bitcoin, Ethereum. I heard Doge something in there at some point. Those are cryptocurrency companies or miners?
Those are the coins, right? So let's just say like Bitcoin is like the US dollar. It's kind of like the gold standard. It's the oldest coin.
Okay, that's the first one I remember hearing
of.
Yeah,
probably the biggest one. I can't remember, it was around 2010 or so that it kind of became more well known. And a coin was worth a fraction of a cent. Somebody spent, I can't remember the equivalent of a few $1 million on a pizza once, at today's price.
Interesting. That kind of puts things into perspective. And that brings me to my next point, because you talked about there actually being a limit potentially on mining for cryptocurrency. And so if you wanted to get involved in cryptocurrency, now's the time.
Yeah, it's if you were looking at this a year ago, most of these cryptocurrencies were at least half or a third of what they're worth now. Bitcoin's worth almost $50,000 right now, and a year ago it was only around $20,000. Ethereum now Bitcoin. There's a lot of issues with Bitcoin. It was the first one, and it was came out of the whole debacle when the banks were too big to fail. Some smart guys got together, and mainly this one guy who's actually remains anonymous. I can't figure out who he is.
It's very cryptic.
It's kind of creepy. I think about it. But anyways, yeah, the Bitcoin technology is good, but all these other newer, they call them altcoins, are technically superior. They use less electricity to do the mining and other ways of verifying the transactions. Ethereum's probably the biggest one that you're going to hear about soon. It went from being around $600 a coin at the beginning of the year. Now it's around $3,000.
Okay.
And the value of these coins go up and down like crazy. Like it was around $4,000 just a month ago. So it's kind of at what they call a dip right now, but it's probably going to go back up again.
So it's a temperamental kind of investment.
It's gambling, straight up.
Adrenaline gets going a little
I mean, it sounds too good to be true because it is. You never know what these coins are going to do. There's basically there's penny stocks. There's also all these altcoins that are fractions of a cent, and some of them actually go up because a celebrity or whatever starts tweeting about them. Dogecoin was a fraction of 1 cent, and now it's worth a quarter. So it went up, I think, 3,000% this year. So the people that got in on that are doing really good.
So if you started mining for, cryptocurrency, what's to say that it just goes away and you lose all of that? Is that a potential risk?
That is a very big risk. It's very possible. A lot of people are mining these altcoins that have big returns. The projects either kind of fizzled out or went away. So they wasted all this money doing all this mining, and then all of a sudden they're gone, and the coin's not worth anything. So that's a risk.
So it's important to be knowledgeable about what you're doing and some of the top cryptocurrencies out there.
And there's it used to be, like I was saying, you could use a computer to mine a Bitcoin. Now you can't use a computer. Now you got to use these ASICs miners, and you can't even use one ASIC miner. You have to use a building full of them. They have. I was just looking at a video of one of the largest ones in Texas they're building, and they mine about $250 million a day.
Oh. All from these little boxes with these little chips in there.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said million. It's 250,000 a day is all.
But yeah, that gets to a million real quick.
It gets to a million real quick. And they use 2 megawatts of power, which is just this enormous amount of power, like all of Fremont County.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's where Bitcoin's not good. Like Tesla was allowing you to buy in Bitcoin. People were like, wait, that's not green because there's a lot of power being wasted on Bitcoin. So you should use something like Litecoin, which is another coin that uses
light year power.
Yeah, it uses significantly less power.
Yeah, Tesla would be behind something like that.
And there's a joke coin called Dogecoin, and it was supposed to make fun of cryptocurrency, but it turned out to be really popular. And it's basically Litecoin just rebranded. And yeah, it's kind of silly. But it's probably the most talked about of the cryptocurrencies, like the third most talked about. It's just crazy.
So if you started mining cryptocurrency, you have to remember that part of your investment is not only the little, it's called an ASICs, correct?
Yeah.
Not only the little ASICs box, but also you have to pay for your electricity. So if you're talking about, mining $250,000 a day, you're going to have a big bill when it comes to electricity. But you guys posted a great information kind of PDF or file on cryptocurrency on Wind River Internet's Facebook page. But it also kind of gives you some tips and tricks and some links where you can actually type in how much you pay for for electricity, and it'll kind of tell you how that's going to affect what you mine with cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, so there's this First Service Credit Union that had us kind of like an introductory and a much more organized version of what I just said, and some cool pictures and a lot of detail actually. And then there's one that I just posted a link to if you want to try and get it on the chat. It's called ASIC miner value, and it'll tell you the different miners and how much they cost and how much you'll make per day. You put in how much your electricity costs. I'm doing a little bit of this myself, and I have solar panels. So
Awesome.
I have self-pay for the solar panels, but it goes to the more like you're not, killing the environment, mining the coins.
So there are different ASICs that make from, I saw $4 a day all the way up to $230 a day.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Some of these newer ones that are coming out in a month or so, they're theoretically can mine up to $230 a day. But once everybody starts mining with those miners, it's gonna lower the value and scarcity of the coin and all this other stuff. So then it'll probably get readjusted down to maybe $150 a day. And these aren't cheap. These things, they're really hard to get a hold of, especially with the shortage of chips. So they originally were going to cost $10,000, but now they're even just the pre-sales are like $30,000 because they're only going to take 3 or 4 months to pay themselves back.
Yeah, and then they'll dip the price after that.
Yeah. And then these ones that I'm talking about here are Ethereum miners. They're also talking about changing the Ethereum project so that miners don't have an advantage. They're going to go from proof of work to proof of stake, and then all of a sudden all these ASICs miners for Ethereum would be useless. So
what does that mean, like as far as cryptocurrency in Wyoming? Because sometimes it takes a little bit longer for us to get on a digital I should say bandwagon, but it does for Wyoming.
Actually, Wyoming was very...
I have a question about that, actually. So Joshua actually asked, he says, what's up, guys? Do you have any info on Wyoming's official crypto that is supposedly being worked on?
Ooh.
I don't.
Sounds like we're getting some info from him.
I'd like to know
I thought
more
that's where Pat
if you
was
could
going
post it
with
in
that.
there. But I know that you can have a wallet on your computer. You can just download it and use it, and it works like cash. But most people use online exchanges. So I posted some of those links. One of the biggest ones is Coinbase. It's your wallet in the sky, so you can buy crypto there. If you mine it, you can have it deposited there. But any time that you convert from crypto into like cash, it's basically being recorded, and you need to report it as a sale. So so you got to pay capital gains, which is 30%
Oh, wow.
So a lot of the people that struck it rich earlier this year are like, we're going to have to pay some serious taxes,
Something to always be reminded of when you're making money in any form. You got to make sure you're paying the government.
That said, a state has to approve these exchanges. So Wyoming was actually one of the first states that was really doing that, and from what I hear, Wyoming's like really doing good with blockchain and accepting of cryptocurrency.
Well,
so
you're a fan of it, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's not heard of in Wyoming at all, and it just takes a lot longer sometimes for things to hit here digitally. But it sounds like from what you said and from what one of our listeners, watchers, mentioned, that we might have our own Wyoming cryptocurrency. Now, if that were the case, what would be on the face of the Wyoming cryptocurrency? I'm going to take the bison, the buffalo for 1,000.
That's a good question. I don't know.
But that's interesting to find out that stuff. And remember, if you're watching this right now, you can comment and ask questions for Patrick, who knows a lot about cryptocurrency. I'm a newbie, but just from sitting here, how long have we been on? For 20 minutes. I have learned a lot about cryptocurrency.
There's a lot to it. I don't even know half of what there is, but I think it's very interesting. And as soon as I figure out exactly how we're going to do it, I think we're going to allow for people to pay with it here at River Internet. So
I do have one more question. Diana says, why should I be interested in cryptocurrency? Is it the wave of the future?
It's a good question.
Depends on if you're a banker.
What are the projections, Patrick?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the future. It's just a matter of, which one's going to come out on top. I think people refer to Bitcoin as being like the gold standard, literally. Like maybe that's the one to put savings into because it's going to be around a long time, but it's not going to change as much as some of the other ones. Ethereum is probably the wave of the future because it's kind of a smart system that can run applications and things, and people are creating tokens and those NFTs, which would be a whole nother episode. where people are literally selling pixels.
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea what he's talking about. And if you don't either, tune in next time.
But yeah, it's definitely the future. And man, I don't want to get political, but basically, a lot of people worry about inflation.
Right.
And if the inflation rate were to get higher than what you're earning in savings, then you're actually just losing money by just, keeping it under a mattress or in a savings account or something like that. So if you have it in something like a digital currency that they have stable coins, which are actually less volatile, then theoretically you're going to make more. Your money's not going to go down in value by just sitting on it, and it may or may not be a good investment, but I don't provide financial advice.
Disclaimer. Have you seen businesses, obviously most likely not in Wyoming, but on a higher corporate scale, start paying employees in digital currency, cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I know there's been some athletes that have negotiated their entire salaries to be paid in crypto.
Wow.
Interesting.
And a lot of places are accepting cryptocurrencies as just straight up payment.
So her answer, maybe sounds like it is, a wave of the future that's sticking around. I remember when it started and I heard about it, nobody thought it would still be around, and that was in 2010 with Bitcoin, and here we are.
I think the way that most merchants are using it right now is they'll still have all their prices displayed in dollar value. And then when you go to pay for it with your cryptocurrency, it'll give you the current market rate to pay them. And then the person or the company that gets it usually transfers it right back into like US dollar. So it's
Is
just
it a
kind of
1-to-1 ratio?
Yeah.
Dollar to dollar? Bitcoin? Cryptocurrency?
No.
I don't know. Is there like a window I go to?
It's kind of like when you go to another country and there's an exchange rate.
Right.
It's the
Yeah,
same
what is
thing,
the
but
exchange rate?
It varies every minute, every second, actually. So usually when you go to buy something, you have a window of like X amount of seconds to complete the transaction before the price changes. So it does get a little bit dicey, but it over the years it's been kind of stabling out.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure at some point there'll be a set when they start using this more and more, which it looks like and sounds like they're already trying to do with athletes and companies paying in a cryptocurrency. That
I just kind of wanted to bring it up just because it's coming up a lot more, and I think we brought it up when people were talking about paying ransoms. People were asking to pay to a Bitcoin wallet because it's kind of a if it's not.
Is it like an offshore account or something? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ultimately they were able to get their money back, but yeah, they had to try and hide the wallet because the wallet's open. So if you're you take over the ship and you say, I want all the money in the Bitcoin account, the person that got robbed is going to know that Bitcoin account.
Right.
So that wallet.
Interesting.
It's kind of different.
Are people getting hacked that are mining cryptocurrency?
Yes, people will hack into the miners and redirect the payments that the wallets that the money goes to from mining to their own. They'll change them. So people will be sitting there thinking they're making all kinds of money, and all of a sudden they realize they're not getting anything deposited, and it's been going to somebody else's account. Or if they're really smart, they'll even just siphon off a little bit. So they'll make some kind of a virus that infects the mining hardware, and it'll take 1% or 2%. But when you times that by a million people, it's a pretty good chunk of money.
So anything we do, we obviously have to worry now about getting hacked or our identities stolen and stuff. So this is obviously no different. But there's a lot of benefits and positive things to cryptocurrency.
Yeah. The fact that it costs basically nothing to send or very little, almost nothing to send a transaction from person to person, depending on the cryptocurrency and the method used. And if you each have your own digital wallets, it's encrypted. Nobody else has to really know about it, depending on how it's done. Unfortunately, that's how some criminals use it. But for the most part, I think the safest and best way is to use an exchange like Coinbase. Just because you can lose your physical wallet too. People will keep their keys on a USB stick and they'll accidentally throw it away. And there's stories about people having like millions of dollars in Bitcoin in some landfill somewhere.
Oh my gosh! I can only imagine that. I'm sure that's true.
Because they left it in their wallet or something, or their pants pocket and threw it away, or back when it wasn't worth anything and now it is.
Right. Well, we learned a lot about cryptocurrency. Do we have any more questions?
We don't.
We learned what cryptocurrency is. We learned about they're called ASICs, right?
Yeah, the ASICs
Those
miners.
are the boxes that when people talk about mining cryptocurrency, they're these little boxes that are hooked up. And then sometimes it's warehouses full of them for bigger operations. And for other smaller operations, it's just a few. There are various different ones that can make you more money. They cost more money. But yeah, we learned a lot.
Well, I hope I have some value. I know it's
Well, you had to
messy.
paint the picture. Yeah,
Yeah.
you paint the picture. There are pros and cons to a cryptocurrency. You have to be prepared. That's what I love though about you, Patrick, and Wind River Internet. You're just laying it out how it is and encouraging folks to, get knowledgeable about if cryptocurrency is for you.
Well, thanks, everybody.
All right, we'll be back next month with another Tech Tips. I'm Charene Herrera for County 10. This is Patrick with Wind River Internet.